So we have some quick fire questions. So I just want to dive straight into them. So can you give us some emerging markets you think people should check out that usually goes out of the radar?
I think actually, well, if you look at the emerging markets at the moment, that kind of is probably most exciting. It's Saudi Arabia and India. There we have 1.4 billion Indians. That's a good start. And Saudi Arabia is kind of opening up with a lot of huge projects. My competence is not investing in that, in those countries directly, but actually the Nordic markets are a derivative of the emerging markets. And the Norway is an emerging market, kind of. We can we go in with the tankers into India and the bulkers and the container ships and whatever there is and the oil rigs. And I think that's a better approach to make money on a foreign market than trying to go dive into it. Because then you have to deal with local jurisdictions that you need to be a specialist on and so forth. So I think on that side, I just try to make it easy and find the derivatives of the emerging markets.
And China too difficult because of politics, or looking increasingly appetizing?
No, I think again the derivative of China is sort of delivering goods to them, building ships there and taking them to the world market. I think again I've become very humble when it comes for emerging markets, and I've seen that political risk very close up through. We took care of an investment in Russia for 15 years, and I saw it was a fantastic time. But I also saw that a lot is very difficult to be an expert in a different country with a different culture than our own.
It's very true. So the next one is, what do you feel is the most undervalued listed company? I know that's a difficult one, but your perspective with today's knowledge that could change in tomorrow's landscape.
The most interesting low-valued company today is Wilhelmsen Holding. It's a fantastic setup. They are making tons of money on the car, on the roll-on, roll-off car carriers at the moment. And you get sort of roughly, you pay 40 øre for every kroner in there. The company, it's a good thing with the company. It's sort of, it's well run. It's good people employed around, and they have a history of more than 150 years. So it's on the investor relations side, they have to improve, and they have a lot of pressure from the outside on that. And I think in a way there, and we saw already now that they increased in dividends by 80% from last year. And I think it probably will increase more as well going forward, because in order to grow with their subsidiaries without selling below 50% in the subsidiaries, they will not be able to raise equity at a decent price. And this is important for a company that wants to shape the maritime industry. So I think Wilhelmsen long term will probably have a lower discount to NAV in 2 years than they have now. And then DOF that we just touched upon. I mean, that is a levered play in a market that's really taking off, and sort of risk reward wise, I mean, the equity there should double the next couple of years.
Interesting. So next one, we talked about this before, but I'll ask it again. When do you put 1% of your assets in a Bitcoin? Now you have all the ETFs up and running as well. So is it tempting now?
Not at all. And I think the reason is that a currency where you don't know who runs it, kind of, you don't know where it came from, it's just there, and which is very, very good to hide money and to launder money. I think it's probably something that will not exist in 10 years because it's just not possible to control it properly. And China has already, I mean, it's forbidden in China, and I think other jurisdictions will follow.
Okay, that's a hot take. Let's see in 10 years, then maybe have a recap. So 2 books people must read in 2024.
That's a good question. I think for what we do, I mean, that's one is in Norwegian though. But Paul Ringholm, who's, I would say, the leading star in fixed income in Norway, he's written a book on how to become wealthy on debt, rik på gjeld. That's a good one. And then another one that's more again in Norwegian. It's an interesting book if you want to sort of get up and running in the stock market. That's called Aksjeskolen, and also a sort of a way into understanding stocks without having too much background in it. And I think that's a good intro for many.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's to read the financial news every single day.
I agree. So the last one, I know you love, going on expeditions. So one or two unique destinations that people should visit. I mean, you've been all over the place almost, but do you have any favorite moments you wish more people could try out? Because I mean, you have a long list, of course, but do you have any particular suggestions?
Up north in Norway is sort of partly where you come from, actually. It's a very nice place. But I think the unique place, that's sort of where it becomes more and more difficult to enjoy in the future, that is Svalbard. So I would go to Longyearbyen, Svalbard before it's too late, before the restrictions are too big. So the government is working to make it a lot more difficult than it was to travel around Svalbard, but it's still possible to enjoy it in an acceptable way, I would say. They have 4 months of sunshine, 24 hours, and then 4 months of complete darkness in the air. So it's and all seasons are just as interesting.